Hello guys, welcome to the Hack the Box Starting Point series. In this episode we will work on phone. As you can see, my machine is already active, it's already online, so we can start working on it right away. If you're not sure how to connect using OpenVPN, you can watch my previous episode, the Meow machine, in which I explain it, but it's also very simple. You just use the command sudo openvpn and you give the OpenVPN file that you download from the Hack the Box website as a parameter. And that's it. Okay, so let's move to the first question. What does the three-letter acronym FTP stand for? This is File Transfer Protocol, of course, and this is the protocol that is very old and very insecure. This is not encrypted, just like Telnet. So remember from my previous video, I showed you how Telnet looks like in Wireshark, that it's not encrypted at all, and you can see everything in plain text. And FTP is very similar, it's also not encrypted, so it's very unsafe to use. And this protocol is used to share files between a client and a remote server. So basically you can just download files from the server as a client. Task number 2. Which port does the FTP service listen on usually? And this is by default port 21, but as you can see they even wrote in here on usually, so it means that FTP could run also on any other port than 21, and port 21 could also be used for any other service than FTP. But most of the times you will see port 21 used for FTP when you run a scan, however it doesn't always have to be the case. Task number 3. FTP sends data in the clear without any encryption. What acronym is used for a later protocol designed to provide similar functionality to FTP but securely as an extension of the SSH protocol? This is SFTP, and there is also another one, FTPS, and this one would be FTP secured with SSL. Task number 4. What is the command we can use to send an ICMP echo request to test our connection to the target? This is very easy, it's just ping. This was also a question in the previous machine. Okay, we can also already test it, so we do the ping and we take the IP address for our machine, we copy it, we paste it, and as you can see the ping goes through, so we have the connectivity. If you watch my previous machine, the Meow, from the starting point also, I explained a bit more about ping, about other possibilities like traceroute and so on, so watch that if you want to know more. Task number 5. From your scans, what version is FTP running on the target? And to answer this question, we have to actually run the Nmap scan, so let's just do it right now. Let's take the previous command and let's replace it with Nmap. And if we run Nmap like this, all we get is this port number, port 21 open, and the service running is FTP. If we want to have more information, we need to add some flags to our Nmap scan, and we will add -sv for version detection and -sc for default scripts. So let's just run it like this. And as you can see, there is much more information provided with this scan right now. For example, here you can see the information about the FTP version, which is VS FTPD 3.0.3, which is the answer to our question. As you can see, this is correct. But as you can see, there is even more information provided with this scan right now. For example, there is information about anonymous FTP login allowed. This is very important information. And then here you can see some file listed. This is called flag.txt. This might be interesting for us. So as you can see, with these flags, there is much more information provided in our scan. And I will show you some very useful commands right now. So let's just clear the terminal. So we run our Nmap scan with -sc flag, and this flag is used to run Nmap with default scripts. And this is really powerful, so for example, we learned that FTP anonymous login is allowed thanks to this flag. And now you can actually list all scripts for Nmap in this directory on Linux. So let's just do it right now. And as you can see, there are many scripts. There are plenty of scripts, and we can actually count them with this command. So there are more than 600 scripts, and these scripts are divided by categories, and we run sc for default scripts. And now this is the command that you could run to find the default NSC scripts for FTP or actually any other service that you specify. It's really useful, and I recommend creating some cheat sheet now with useful commands, so you don't have to memorize it but save it for later. But also when you understand it, you don't have to memorize shit because you just know how it works. So let me explain how this command works in detail now. So how it works is actually very simple. We just use the locate command, and as you can see in the manual, locate is used to find files by name quickly. So we do that, we give it -r flag for regex, so now we can use this to look only for files that ends with NSE. We do that first and we get this list of files located. And now we use the pipe and we give it to xargs, so we take this output and we turn it into arguments, because normally grep would just run this search for the file names and we want to go inside of them, so that's why we need xargs, and now we can use the -i for ignoring case sensitivity, and we look for categories. So we found the categories. Now we want to find only the default scripts, so we can do that very similarly with grep. Now we have default scripts, and now you can actually check for whatever you want, for example FTP or SMB or anything else. Okay, so this was maybe a bit out of the scope for this machine, but I think really useful, really interesting, so that you know these things. But let's go back into our questions now. Task number 6, from your scans what OS type is running on the target, and for that we have to run the Nmap scan again. So let's just do it very quickly because we cleared the terminal, so we don't have this. Let's use the same flags, and as you can see, service info OS Unix. Okay, so this is Unix exactly. Task number 7, what is the command we need to run in order to display the FTP client help menu? And this is FTP -, and they even gave the answer, so we can check this, and the help menu is here for FTP. Task number 8, what is username that is used over FTP when you want to log in without having an account? And this is anonymous, and you might ask, how do I know that it's anonymous? Well, this is just the default that you should always check. And you can also go into RFC for FTP anonymous login. It's this one, 1635, and you can also find it here, username maybe, and you can read once connected to the remote host, login with username anonymous. I recommend you to checking out the RFC for this and maybe other RFCs as well. Sometimes it's really useful and it's interesting information. So this is anonymous. Okay, and now let's go to task number 9. What is the response code when we get for the FTP message login successful? We can check this in our Nmap scan actually. We go back in here and the FTP code is here, 230. And this is exactly the correct answer. Task number 10. There are a couple of commands we can use to list the files and directories available on the FTP server. One is dir. What is the other? That is a common way to list files on a Linux system. This is of course ls. Task number 11. What is the command used to download the file we found on the FTP server? This command is get. We can actually go and do it right now. So we use FTP command to connect to it. We give the IP address. We give the username anonymous and no password. And we can now list the files in this directory, and we can see there is this flag.txt. So we can get this. With this command we will download it to our computer. And there is also one interesting thing. If you want to list files from FTP server that are only on your local machine, you have to add the exclamation mark in the beginning. So now if I do exclamation mark ls, I list all the files that are on my machine. So now look at this. You can compare. So this ls with exclamation mark, you can see flag.txt and starting point this OpenVPN file, and on the FTP server there is only flag.txt. So this is also useful sometimes. And now we can exit the FTP server, we can list again, and we can cut the flag. So this is our flag. As you can see in here, this is exactly the same one. Congratulations, phone is pwned. Okay, that's it for today. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel and write a comment. Thank you so much. Bye bye.